Welcome back, you beautiful anomaly. You unmanageable force wrapped in human symmetry. You walking disruption that physics hasn't updated for yet. Sit with something for a moment. Something you were never meant to hear. Something whispered in rooms you'll never be invited to. Something too classified for the people who created the classification system. While you were living your life like a civilian, scrolling, breathing, healing, becoming, there were people in high offices staring at a still image of you, like it was a breach in the chain of command. Not metaphorically, literally. A man with real power, not Instagram power, not petty authority, but world-shaping power, felt outranked by your photo. And because his ego couldn't process that, because the hierarchy he worships collapsed in a single heartbeat, something happened in the building. A protocol activated. A protocol they've never seen before. A protocol that doesn't exist in their manuals, their archives, or their encrypted systems. And that's what's breaking reality for them right now. Your image forced the system to invent a new rule. Now pause. Feel the weight of that. A photo is supposed to be harmless. A moment, frozen, a pixel arrangement. But somehow, your pixels tripped a wire even the architects didn't know they installed. Somewhere at 2:14 a.m. in a control room thick with authority and tension, alarms blinked without sounding, screens recalibrated, and a warning label flashed that nobody had programmed. Unknown rank override. And the worst part for them? It wasn't an error message. It was recognition. It was compliance. It was submission. It was the system declaring, someone has entered the domain who doesn't follow our rules, doesn't kneel to our symbols, doesn't register in our hierarchy, yet outranks someone who built it. They couldn't believe it. They refused to accept it. They restarted the system. They scanned for viruses. They interrogated the software engineers at sunrise. But the code didn't glitch. The code adapted. Your presence rewrote it. And this is where things get interesting. Because if a photo of you can trigger a protocol that doesn't exist, what does that make you? What does that make your frequency, your existence, your impact? They don't even have vocabulary for you. They're using words like anomaly, unclassified authority, non-hierarchical dominance, sovereign presence, signature. They're trying to invent new psychological categories while pretending they aren't panicking, because powerful people only panic in private, and you've become their private panic. Let me take you into the room. A 9-person panel sitting around a table built for strategy, not humility. A general, a director, a strategist, a behavioral analyst, a counterintelligence expert, a subconscious response researcher, an energy field consultant, and 2 people whose job titles are so vague, even their own families don't know what they do. The general starts first. He speaks slowly because he's trying to hide the tremble in his tone. Why did I feel outranked by this? He's pointing at your photo projected on a massive screen, larger than life, framed like a case study in supernatural interference. He tries to maintain composure, but every neuron in his body remembers the instinctive microsecond where something inside him saluted before his mind could protest. They replay the footage frame by frame, and there it is, the subtle tightening of his spine, the involuntary straightening, the almost imperceptible tilt of acknowledgement. Not respect, not intimidation, recognition. The behavioral analyst leans forward, eyes narrowed. Images don't cause that, not without priming, not without previous imprinting. He's responding to something beyond conscious classification. The strategist interrupts. Or someone. They all look back at your photo like it's a forbidden artifact, like it's carrying a language they can't translate, but their nervous systems can. And that's what terrifies them the most. Your presence bypasses logic and speaks directly to instinct. Hierarchies crumble when instinct acknowledges a higher order. And that's exactly what happened. You didn't outrank the general on paper. You outranked him in his biology. By hour 2, the panic begins to camouflage itself as professionalism. They switch from asking, "What is this?" to, "How do we contain this?" But they can't contain what they can't categorize. They can't categorize what they can't predict. And they can't predict someone who didn't climb their hierarchy but stands above it anyway. Someone suggests that maybe the general's response was emotional, misfired memory, projection. But the general shakes his head. No, it wasn't emotional. It was structural. Something in me responded to something in them. The room freezes. They replay that word, them, because he didn't say, the person. He didn't say, the photo. He said them, as if you were a classification, a category, an entity, something bigger than the frame you were printed into. Hour 3 is where the real chaos starts. The system logs an event timestamp around the moment the general reacted. An automatic file opens itself, a file the system doesn't confess to having. A file labeled Protocol Orbital. There is no orbital protocol. Nobody at that table has ever heard of it. The engineers swear it shouldn't exist. But when they open the file, it contains exactly one line. Response required when hierarchy is neutralized by external presence. They stare at it like it's haunted, because that's what you've become to them. A haunting in their system, a ripple in their logic, a disruption in their architecture. They start arguing. Was this a dormant code? Was the system hacked? Was the general compromised? None of the explanations stick, because all of them rely on something you don't rely on. Permission, authorization, structure. You don't follow their systems follow you. By hour 4, the tone shifts. They're no longer discussing the photo. They're discussing the implications. Because here's the truth they're trying to avoid. Someone with real power felt outranked by a person who never asked for their approval. And if that person can outrank him, what does that mean for the entire hierarchy beneath him? It means the hierarchy is fragile. It means power isn't linear. It means influence isn't assigned. It's emanated, and you emanate without intention. You radiate without trying. You disrupt without effort. This is why the protocol triggered. Systems built on control always react when they detect something or someone who doesn't need their structure to hold power. Hour 5 is where desperation mixes with fascination. The counterintelligence expert starts proposing containment measures, monitoring, tracking, digital profiling. The usual tools of people who fear what they can't understand. But someone stops him, the strategist. Containment won't work. This isn't behavioral, this is gravitational. He says your presence behaves more like a field than like a personality, more like a force than a person. You bend perception, you rearrange dynamics, you reorder the invisible hierarchy people pretend doesn't exist. And the more they try to study the photo, the more unsettled they become. Because the truth is now unavoidable. Someone with real power felt smaller than you. And it wasn't a mistake. It was recognition. Hour 6 is the collapse. The quiet admission that they don't have the tools to analyze you. They only have the tools to react to you. Someone whispers, "We need to figure out what they want." And then the most uncomfortable realization settles into the room like fog. You don't want anything. You didn't post the photo to communicate. You didn't exist to send a message. You were simply being. And that's what terrifies them the most. Your existence alone is enough to topple their illusion of control. The general finally speaks again. I felt outranked because they're not operating inside the hierarchy. They're operating above it. He says it quietly, almost reverently, as if acknowledging a truth he spent his whole life avoiding. That rank is costume, power is theater, and authority is an invention that collapses the moment someone walks in, who doesn't need any of it to command reality. And that person is you. So now the room sits in silence, not because the meeting is over, but because the meaning is too large to speak. They saw something in your image they weren't prepared for. Something unscripted, something sovereign, something ungoverned, something that doesn't need their structures to stand tall. Your photo isn't just a picture, it's a frequency, a field, a signature that registers as higher order. And the moment they recognized that, their system folded. It invented a protocol to compensate, a protocol that still shouldn't exist, a protocol that only triggers when hierarchy encounters something it cannot outrank. And now, here's the part they still haven't processed. This was just the photo, not you in motion, not you speaking, not you realizing what you are. This was the weakest version of your presence, the two-dimensional imprint. Imagine what happens when they encounter the real thing. That's the thought that changes the oxygen in the room. Because up until now, they've been treating your image like an anomaly in the software, like a glitch in the sensory hierarchy. But the second someone whispers, if the photo did this, what does their presence do? The room fractures. It splits into two psychological camps. The ones who want to understand you, and the ones who want to contain you. Both sides are terrified, just in different dialects. The ones who want to understand you lean forward with fascination, like astronomers watching a star flicker in a pattern that redefines astrophysics. The ones who want to contain you lean back, like biologists realizing the virus they're studying can survive outside the lab and doesn't respect walls. And in the middle of it, the general, still rattled, still pretending he isn't, says the sentence nobody wanted to say aloud. If this is their weakest form, we don't have a response protocol for their strongest. That sentence detonates something quiet but violent in the room. The strategist starts tapping her pen, calculating the collapse of structures that rely on predictable human behavior. The analyst starts scanning through your online presence, your last movements, your digital footprint, trying to see if there were signs they missed, patterns that hinted you were operating at this level. But the truth is exactly what terrifies them. You didn't drop hints. You didn't build toward this. You didn't signal your ascent. You simply outgrew the gravitational field they thought everyone was stuck in. Now the room tries to reboot the discussion, but it refuses to reboot. Because you cannot organize chaos when the chaos is not chaotic, it's sovereign. And that's the paradox they're choking on. You're not unpredictable in the sloppy, reckless, reactive way people usually mean. You're unpredictable in the we have no metric for this way. You're not an error, you're an upgrade. And upgrades break systems when the system is outdated. Someone finally speaks up, the behavioral mathematician. He says, "We've been modeling human trajectories wrong. They evolve linearly. This," he points to your photo, "is nonlinear emergence. It's the kind of spike that collapses the model because it doesn't climb gradually. It jumps." The room hates this explanation because it forces them to abandon their frameworks. And frameworks are the only thing giving them the illusion of control. But the mathematician isn't done. He adds something that makes everyone uncomfortable. Nonlinear emergence is usually triggered by extreme internal recalibration, meaning this isn't random, they rebuilt themselves. And there it is, the part that humiliates them. You rebuilt yourself while they weren't looking. By now, the general is pacing in a slow circle, trying to hide the fact that he keeps glancing at the screen like it's a threat, a prophecy, and a confession all at once. The strategist notices and makes a note on her tablet. The note reads, "Instinctive reactivity is persistent," meaning he's still feeling outranked, even after the shock has worn off. That alone terrifies the others more than the protocol activation, because shock fades. But instinct? Instinct does not negotiate. Instinct does not apologize. Instinct does not recognize false gods. Someone finally attempts something ridiculous, they dim the photo. They literally lower the brightness on the display, like they're trying to dim the impact. The lights fade, your image drops to 60% intensity, and nothing changes. The general still stiffens. The analyst still avoids eye contact with the screen. The strategist still has her heart rate spiking on her watch. Someone whispers, "It isn't the photo, it's the presence encoded into it." And that's the moment they realize they weren't reacting to pixels. They were reacting to the signature, the imprint, the field. Now they're spiraling. They're questioning identity, authority, structure, hierarchy, and their own roles inside all those things. Because if a single photograph can dethrone a man, they've spent decades trying to impress. What does that mean for everything they've built their authority on? It means the ladder they climbed wasn't a ladder. It was scaffolding. Temporary. Replaceable. Irrelevant in the presence of someone who operates outside the design entirely. While they're drowning in existential dread, the system does something else, something worse. Without being prompted, without a command, without an operator triggering anything, the system does a sweep. A full-spectrum analysis sweep. It scans your photo like it's scanning an unidentified celestial object. It runs your image through recognition software, not to find your identity, but to classify your impact. And after a full minute, 60 seconds of suspense heavy enough to fracture stone, it spits out a result that no one in the room knows how to interpret. The label reads, rank, non-territorial superiority. They don't know what that means. They know what territorial superiority is. That's military, strategic, geopolitical power. But non-territorial? That means your power isn't bound by land, position, title, or jurisdiction. It isn't anchored to anything physical. It's intrinsic, energetic, sovereign. You carry rank without territory. You carry authority without throne. You carry dominance without domain. You outrank the powerful because you don't compete with them. You bypass them. Now panic takes a new shape in the room. It's quieter, colder, more respectful. They look at your photo the way sailors look at storms, aware that survival is possible, but control is not. The strategist speaks again. She's calm, but her voice is trembling under the composure. We need to consider the possibility that we're dealing with an emergent hierarchy, one that doesn't require consensus, one that doesn't require recognition, one that imposes itself simply by existing. She pauses. We've been measuring power wrong, and they know she's right, because for centuries, power has been measured by external markers, rank, wealth, status, alliances, territory. But you've reintroduced a form of power they haven't accounted for. Internal gravitational authority. A power that bends how the environment responds to you. A power that doesn't need recognition to be recognized. A power that the body acknowledges before the mind can debate. A power that makes the general salute without understanding why. And here's the part that keeps them awake for the next 3 nights. If this is who you are now, who were you before? This question sends the analyst down a rabbit hole. She pulls up your old posts, old images, old traces of your existence, searching for signs of this frequency. But she finds something worse than precursors. She finds absence. You weren't posting in ways that show evolution. You weren't broadcasting ascension. You weren't projecting superiority. You were quiet, detached, focused on internal reconstruction instead of external performance. This means your transformation wasn't performative. It was structural. It was subterranean. It was a metamorphosis done in solitude, while they thought your silence meant irrelevance. The general sits again, exhausted by the magnitude of what he's confronting. "This changes everything," he mutters. The strategist tries to stabilize the conversation by asking, "What's our next move?" But the room stays silent, because when power is external, you strategize. When power is internal, you adapt. And when power is higher than yours, you kneel, intentionally or instinctively. Suddenly the system triggers again. A second protocol. Not a warning this time, a calculation. A line of text scrolls across the screen. Potential impact. Uncontainable, but non-hostile. The room freezes. They reread the words. Uncontainable, but non-hostile. That's the part that shakes them the most. Because it means the system doesn't detect intent to harm. It detects capacity beyond response. You aren't a threat because threats want something. You don't want anything. You are simply beyond them. And entities beyond hierarchy aren't enemies. They're forces. Someone whispers, "So what do we do?" And the mathematician answers, "We update the system." But the strategist snaps back. No system can be updated fast enough to keep up with someone who's not operating inside definable parameters. You can't update a box to contain something that isn't shaped like anything in the box. This is the first honest moment of the entire meeting. It strips away their arrogance, their illusions, their sense of superiority. And in that vulnerability, they accidentally tell the truth. They are outdated. And you are the update. Now the general leans forward, staring at your image like he's seeing a holy relic. He says, "We need to understand why I reacted the way I did." And the psychologist clears her throat. She's been waiting hours to say this, and now she has permission. You reacted because your nervous system registered a higher rank. Not socially, not militarily, primally. She pauses. You didn't salute a person. You saluted a presence. The strategist raises an eyebrow. Are you suggesting hierarchy is encoded biologically? The psychologist nods. Hierarchy is ancient. But what outranks hierarchy is even older. Recognition of higher order isn't taught. It's instinctive. This is where the dark humor creeps in. Not because anyone laughs, but because the situation is absurd in its seriousness. A group of powerful individuals, armed with credentials, data, authority, and structure, are sitting in a room analyzing a photo, like it's a cosmic artifact that rewrote physics. And the hilarious part? They're not wrong. Your presence did rewrite the rules. Not because you intended to, not because you tried to, but because you evolved into someone who no longer fits into the old rule book. And the universe, ever obedient to truth, corrected itself around you. By hour 7, the meeting has lost all structure. They aren't discussing action plans. They're discussing definitions, identity, reality. They debate whether power should be remeasured based on internal calibration instead of external markers. They debate whether there should be a new class for individuals who operate beyond governance, beyond hierarchy, beyond psychological manipulation, a category for sovereigns. And then someone says what everyone has been avoiding. What if we aren't supposed to manage this? What if we're supposed to learn from it? The general looks offended. Learn from what? The strategist answers, not what, who? And suddenly the room shifts again. Because now they're not treating you like a threat or a problem. They're treating you like a phenomenon, a natural law, a cosmic event, something that wasn't meant to be controlled, only observed. And the most ironic part? They're right. You didn't break their hierarchy by force. You broke it by existing outside it. You became untouchable when you stopped playing. You became sovereign when you stopped seeking. And your photo is the evidence, a mirror reflecting back the truth they didn't want to see. They spent decades defining power. You redefined it with a still image. Someone finally asks the forbidden question. What happens when the world sees this? Not just us, not just the system, the world. That question collapses whatever was left of their composure. Because if one man in a secure room felt outranked by your photo, what happens when millions of unprepared minds see the same image? What happens when they feel the protocol activate inside themselves? What happens when they recognize your frequency without knowing why? The mathematician says something unnervingly calm. The same thing that happened to him, internal reorganization. The strategist looks alarmed. Meaning, he says, you reorganize people simply by being seen. This realization devastates them because influence can be fought, control can be resisted, authority can be challenged. But reorganization bypasses willpower, it bypasses ego, it bypasses self-concept. When your presence reorganizes someone, they cannot return to the version of themselves shaped by hierarchy. They are forced into a new orbit, and you become their gravitational center. Now they understand why the protocol triggered. It wasn't protecting them from you. It was warning them of the truth. The hierarchy is collapsing, not in the world, but inside themselves. And once internal hierarchy collapses, external hierarchy becomes theater. Illusion? A stage play performed for people who still believe power is assigned rather than emanated. By hour 8, they have one last conversation, the most important one. The general asks, what do we do if we ever encounter them in person? And the psychologist answers with brutal honesty. Prepare to feel small and don't resist it. Because it's not dominance, it's alignment. The general doesn't like this answer, but he knows it's true. Something in him already aligned. That's why he saluted, not because he respected you, but because his system acknowledged you. There is a difference. That difference is the fracture line running through every powerful person who's seen your image since. They don't talk about it publicly, of course not. People with power never confess when their foundations shake. But behind their titles, behind their reputation armor, behind the committees and clearances and secret hierarchies, something has shifted permanently. The moment they saw your photo, their bodies registered a truth their minds had been trained to reject. Someone outside their structure outranks them.